All right, welcome to this week's video. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about being a junior software engineer and how you can progress from there. I mean, 2 years ago, I started a junior engineering position in a software company. And I came from a mechanical engineering background, and there was a lot of things to adapt, a lot of things to learn. And over time, I learned a few tips that really helped me at least go a bit further from the junior engineering level and a bit higher. And so in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a few tips that really help me, go that extra mile and at least, start moving away from the junior position. So stay tuned if you just started a new software engineering job, because I'm going to give you a few tips that might be valuable for you. All right, my tip number one is to avoid what I call paralysis by analysis, which is a state where you're overanalyzing everything and you don't get anything done. You're just paralyzed and you don't know how to get started. And this happens especially if you're a junior engineer, especially if you're going to a new company and you look into this very big repo, a lot of these folders, a lot of these files that you had never seen, and it can get very overwhelming. And assuming you are in a junior engineering position, maybe your first tasks are just to fix a few bugs, maybe refactor some of the code, maybe to document stuff. And especially in these situations, right, you might have this map in your mind on how to get started, right? You kind of know a little bit like which files you got to change, which lines you need to delete and rewrite. And if you keep all of that map in your head, right, it might get very overwhelming. You have all of these things in your head. You kind of know what you have to do, but there's too much information, right? You don't know how to get started. And you get into this paralysis state. And what I would advise you to do here is to simply get started, right? Like start deleting one of the lines that you think should be deleted and just write what you think you should write. And it doesn't have to be perfect at first, and you most likely won't be. But the important here is to actually start taking steps and to physically, type the commands, the lines that you think need to be typed. And plus, as you type stuff, you're actually saving information on the document itself, so you don't have to keep everything in your mind, which might make things more difficult. But the important thing here is to really, start building this momentum of typing stuff and deleting things. And it's gonna get easier because now you have information saved on the documents that you're editing, and you can move forward more easily versus if you're just keeping everything in your head, trying to make this mental map that sometimes is very difficult to track. So start deleting stuff, start writing stuff, don't be afraid. If you're using Git, everything is saved. You don't have to worry about messing something up. So actually, just try to build this momentum and you see things are gonna get easier. Tip number two is to not get stuck in side quests. And by side quests, I mean try to optimize things way too early. And that was something that I really wasted a lot of time with in the beginning. I'll be given this very clear task, this very clear feature that I needed to implement. And I'll be wasting all this time trying to optimize things that weren't even that important to get to the end goal, right? So for example, I'll be trying to optimize certain tests, try to make them run as fast as possible. I'll try to make things look perfectly from the get-go instead of just trying to get the main feature going, right? And my coworkers would ask me, have you implemented this thing yet? I'll be like, oh no, I'm doing this other thing here that, they don't even care that much. They only care, about whether you have the main thing that they asked for going. And one additional bonus of focusing on the main thing is that when you actually get it working, when you actually get that thing that you asked for to work, you have this instant gratification of like, I was productive, I did what they asked me to do, and now I can focus on the side quests, right? Now I can try to maybe refactor it to look better. Maybe now I can write unit tests so that they run faster. And so really try to focus on the main thing, on the main goal, and you're gonna be much more productive that way. All right, tip number three is to write things down as soon as you accomplish something. And that is so you avoid, having to ask the same thing to the same people over and over again, so that you don't have to research the same thing over and over again. That's something that I will catch myself doing all of the time. Maybe there's a configuration that I needed to change, maybe some, files that I needed to change to make the application run. And especially if those things are very specific to your company, that you cannot just Google that, then it's very important that you document it and that you write it down as soon as you get something working. Which steps did you take to get them working? Which things did you need to do to actually do this thing that you're trying to do? And that is gonna save you a lot of time in the future. Trust me, your future self is really gonna thank you. It happens to me a lot where sometimes 6 months later, I'm doing a completely new task, but I have to do the same thing that I done several months ago. And then I simply open, my notes, and then I do a Control F, and I can find exactly what I was looking for. And that saves me a lot of time. In the beginning, I would waste so much time trying to reach out to people to try to find the same thing that I had already asked for. And I knew in my mind that I had already done these things before, And so trust me, as soon as you get something working, especially if it's very specific, write the steps down that you needed to take to get them done. Tip number 4 is to not ask for help way too soon. And I feel like especially if you're a junior engineer, sometimes we tend to, jump to asking for someone's rescue as soon as we find the minimal obstacle instead of trying to struggle ourselves and try to solve a problem ourselves. And so I think that's very important, especially for a junior engineer, because that's how you really learn. You really learn by struggling, by trying to do something that's difficult and then try to get something done, even though you might not know how to do it, right? And so if you ask for someone's help too quickly, then you won't go through that process, right? You're just asking for somebody else to solve the problem for you, and you won't go through this very beneficial process of having to struggle to learn. And there's always a balance between being inefficient and also learning. So if you're at a point where you're just banging your head against the wall, you're not getting anything done, you're just wasting time, then most certainly no, ask for help. But there's a balance here. Don't do it also as soon as you find the minor inconvenience that you cannot go forward. Really try to do something yourself, and only when you really cannot find any way forward, ask for help. But that's really all that I have for this week's video. Just wanted to give you a few tips that really helped me progress better and faster when I was a junior software engineer, and how you can move your career faster. So thanks for watching, and I see you next time.